Wall of Force. This is a crazy spell. If this is on your spell list, you instantly pick it. Everyone does. Rules-wise, there's a lot to talk about, so let's get into it right away. Welcome to Pack Tactics. May the Force be with you. Wall of Force is a 5th level spell accessible to wizards as well as some subclasses of other classes. It takes an action to cast, it requires concentration, and it lasts 10 minutes. And it has a range of 120 feet. This is its description. An invisible wall of force springs into existence at a point you choose within range. The wall appears in any orientation you choose, as a horizontal or vertical barrier or at an angle. It can be free-floating or resting on a solid surface. You can form it into a hemispherical dome or a sphere with a radius of up to 10 feet. Or you can shape a flat surface made up of 10 10-foot by 10-foot panels. Each panel must be contiguous with another panel. In any form, the wall is 1/4 thick. It lasts for the duration. If the wall cuts through a creature's space when it appears, the creature is pushed to one side of the wall. Your choice which side. Nothing can physically pass through the wall. It is immune to all damage and can't be dispelled by dispel magic. A disintegrate spell destroys the wall instantly, however. The wall also extends into the ethereal plane, blocking ethereal travel through the wall. Now, after reading all of this, you might be wondering, what's the saving throw? It doesn't say. Well, that's the best part. There's no saving throw. This just works 100% of the time. Usually, this spell is used to split an encounter into 2 or more. And it's really easy to do. You're just putting people into boxes. That's the reason why everyone picks this spell if they have access to it. It's an instant pick. No save shutdown spells are like the best spells in the entire game. Anyways, we'll get into all of the strategies eventually. First, we need to talk about the curse aspects, and there's actually quite a lot. First, let's talk about ways to form the wall. Either a hemispherical dome, or a sphere, or a bunch of flat panels. What's a hemispherical dome? That is a very good question, actually. I don't know. So, it looks like somewhat like a sphere, but does it have a floor? I think that might be a bit ambiguous. For that reason, let's look at a completely different spell. Tiny Huts. This spell creates a... Wait, what the fuck? The area in the spell is wrong. D&D Beyond is wrong here. So, if you look at a different spot on D&D Beyond, you'll see the correct area. A 10-foot radius hemisphere. Okay, not a hemispherical dome this time. Instead, it's a hemisphere. Well, what is a hemisphere? It is half of a sphere. If we cut a sphere in half, it wouldn't have a floor. Crawford agrees with this. Domes usually don't have floors. Makes sense. But later on, he starts disagreeing. Later, he went on to say that because it's a hemisphere, it obviously has a floor. Do hemispheres have floors? Well, sometimes. Why does he think so? That requires us to talk about what D&D thinks is a sphere. When the rules say a sphere for AoEs, which is mathematically just a set of points at the same distance away from the center of the shape, it is mathematically actually a ball. That is a solid, not hollow. A fireball or fog cloud is obviously not hollow. They fill the region bounded by the sphere, obviously. A hemisphere is a sphere that is cut in half. Usually that has no border at the bottom. Now, I was going to make a leap of faith and argue that because with a sphere they mean a ball, that with a hemisphere they mean a ball that is cut in half. Therefore, there is a border at the bottom. What I mean by that is there's a floor. Jeremy tweeted as if this was super obvious. I don't think so, especially because the spell text refers to a dome, which usually doesn't have a floor. So, Wall of Force has a floor. No, I don't think so. Wall of Force's options aren't a ball, or a half a ball. The sphere option is like a hamster ball, which is hollow. The other one is a hemispherical spherical dome. The common usage of a dome does not include a floor. A Wikipedia article explains that an architectural definition is basically also just half a hollow sphere. So, no floor. That's what I've concluded. Kobold, Wikipedia for tabletop? I think we might be in trouble. That's why it's so cursed. It's such a stretch. But to me, this makes more sense. Even though the terms dome or hemisphere are also used in tiny huts, there it basically has to refer to balls / half a ball. I'd argue Wall of Force has no floor not because of the architectural definition, or because a sphere and a ball are different, but also because I do not think the dome option would make sense in the context of the sphere option also existing. If you want an option that completely closes someone in, the sphere option is right there. The dome option would only cut the available space in half if it had a floor. You might argue differently, but that's how I interpret it. The choice of having it include a floor or not has a few consequences. Mainly, it not having a floor means that you can put the Wall of Force with the dome template in the air slightly. This allows arrows and cantrips and stuff to shoot through the bottom gap. You can potentially default kill with this. If they do have range or cantrips and stuff, then they can potentially do the same, and they have cover, you gave them cover. But that might not mean anything if, for example, the ranger has sharpshooter. Clearly our range is better than their range. You could just cast cantrips with saving throws to ignore the cover stuff. If Wall of Force does have a floor, it means that creatures that burrow can't escape Wall of Force with the dome template. This might not come up too often, but it's important regardless. I do think Wall of Force is better without a floor, but even with a floor, that does not change the ranking of this spell. I still think this spell is insane. Anyways, let's get off the floor and float around a bit with the Wandering Tavern. Take flight to a city that floats in the sky. This book is system agnostic with optional 5e stats included. It's full of mysteries, plot hooks, threats, and everything you need for a campaign. It's got over 180 pages full of content. It's got fantastic history and lore to discover with over 30 plot hooks. 15 giant battle maps with 23 unique key locations, 3 unique downtime games to play around with, 7 illegal trades, magic items, 13 setting themed real life recipes, a giant mini of the entire city, and much more. Ooh, Kobold, I'm a spooky ghost. There's unique spirit mechanics. When the sun sets, the spirits come out of the shadows and haunt the streets. Some of them are friendly like Gator, and others are mean. There's a whole mechanic around methods to protect yourself or to get them to help you. Just whatever you do, be very careful around the Stone of Remembrance. Wait, why do I need to be careful? That's a spoiler, Gator. We can't share that. Anyways, there's also Zephyr mechanics with over 50 customizable parts and stations. This stuff is so advanced that it comes with a quick starter guide. We like advanced mechanics, right, Kobold? Absolutely. That's why we buy tabletop books. And I didn't even mention everything. It's that big. The Wandering Tavern is live on Kickstarter right now. If you like what you see, they hope to earn your support. I highly recommend it. You better hurry though, before the city floats away. Back to the video. Now let's talk about another curse aspect about this spell. It says nothing can physically pass through the wall. If you take this too literally, then the spell breaks. You see, it's an invisible wall, but if light cannot pass through it, then it's a pitch black wall. It's clearly not invisible. And then there's the air. You're literally suffocating creatures with this spell. I really don't think that's how it's supposed to work at all. Though even if we said that it works in a sane way in regards to air and light, the way it is worded doesn't really work as you'd expect. It blocks arrows, sure, but spells? No, not really. Spells aren't something physical. But Kobold, it's a wall that blocks spells. Well, yeah, it's a wall of force. It's not like a physical blockade. To target something, there can't be total cover between you and them. Force isn't really an obstacle in a traditional sense. And even if we do consider it to be an obstacle, total cover doesn't even apply as the target isn't concealed by the invisible wall of force. Don't comment. So, I know it sounds really stupid what I just said. I think the way it should be run is that the wall of force is like a thin transparent wall that cannot be destroyed, and it allows air and light to get through. Additionally, total cover doesn't care about sight. It just cares about an obstacle completely blocking the target. Jeremy does seem to think that wall of force provides total cover. And now we get into the third cursed thing. There's so much. Anyways, let's talk about disintegrate. Specifically this part. A thin green ray springs from your pointing finger to a target that you can see within range. The target can be a creature, an object, or a creation of magical force, such as the wall created by Wall of Force. So, you need to see the target. Wall of Force is invisible. That means normally you cannot disintegrate the wall. But Kobold, what if they cast see invisibility first? Well, that allows you to see invisible creatures and objects, not invisible creations of magical force. What about true seeing spell? That gives you true sight, but again, only invisible creatures and objects. What about blind sight and tremor sense? I don't know. Those senses are horribly defined. I assume yes, but I don't know. Anyways, again, Jeremy had another tweet on the subject. He says, disintegrate is a mischievous spell. It says you must see its target, then quickly makes an exception for Wall of Force and the like. He is completely wrong, saying that disintegrate makes an exception that you do not have to see the creation of magical force. Nowhere does it say that. We literally read through it. But I do agree with him that an exception should be made for those sort of things. I mean, come on. We obviously want these spells to work in the game. Anyways, those are basically all the cursed things I could think of. Now let's properly start the video and talk about strategy. Welcome to Pack Tactics, where we shove people into microwaves. Let's talk about putting the Wall of Force slightly off the ground strat first. I already mentioned this before, maybe you can default kill with cantrips or arrows. If not, you or somebody else could cast a long-lasting AoE spell that will just melt them away. That strategy is also possible without the 1-inch gap strat. If you want to do that, then someone or you need to first cast the AoE spell, and then somebody or you casts Wall of Force. These AoEs will likely require concentration, so you need another caster buddy to help you out. It is possible to do this all on your own, but that's a very specific build. You need 10 levels in Chronergy Wizard to get the Arcane Archaic feature. This will let you cast your cool AoE spell into a bead, and then from there you can give it to your familiar or your friends. And that makes things really easy to microwave. Microwave? Are we making popcorn? Microwave is the name of the AoE plus enclosement strategy. It works with Force Cage too. There's not really a specific AoE that's always applicable. You have a few options, but my favorite is Sickening Radiance, because not only does it deal damage, but it also inflicts exhaustion. There's a ton of creatures in the game that dies at 6 levels of exhaustion, so this is great against creatures that regenerate HP. If they live through all the damage, then the exhaustion part will definitely get them killed. There's no way they're surviving that. I've also seen a lot of Darkstar be used with this. That's really good. That one stops enemies from using spells with verbal components, which is most spells that would allow you to teleport out. So they're stuck there. They're gonna die. And even if they have some sort of stupid feature that lets them teleport out without needing to speak, Darkstar also blocks sight. So it's really effective. Another common strategy is to put Wall of Force in such a way that lets you cut off part of the combatants out of the fight temporarily. You're basically splitting the encounter. While you deal with one half, the other half can't do anything. You're you're splitting the one encounter into 2 easier fights. If you actually go for this strategy, the surface panels option is probably going to be the best option. You just put it in the middle of the room and boom, now the encounter is much easier. The final strategy I want to talk about, and I've seen this quite a lot. I don't think it has a name though, but I like to call it the big suck. Wall of Force allows you to push a creature to one side of the wall if it would cut through the creature's space when it appears. If there's a large or larger creature in the encounter, you can use Wall of Force as a no-save pull or the big suck towards the wall. Of course, just doing that might not be great, but I've seen the dome option be used to move creatures into AoEs. This makes them both stuck in the AoE and also take damage from the AoE. It's really effective, actually. Also take into account that the spell's description doesn't limit to where you push them. I think it's fair to say that you cannot use it as like a meat grinder, but you can absolutely force them into a position where they need to squeeze. You should remember that if you're fighting giants, for example. It's very effective. You don't even need to care about putting multiple creatures in one space, as the rule disallowing a creature to be in another creature's space only cares about creatures willingly ending their move there. That is not what's happening if you use the big suck to force creatures in a small space.
Wait, what? You can do that?
Yeah, it's very clear writing. It's on the screen right now. Now, there's actually more possibilities with Wall of Force. There's like countless of them. But the ones that I just shared right now, I think those are the common ones. Anyways, incredible spell. One of the strongest spells in the entire game. Pick it up if you see it. If you have any cool stories about Wall of Force, tell me in the comments, because I want to optimize Wall of Force even more. Like I said, there's countless ways to make this really powerful, and I want to know all of them. End of video.
Guys, I learned something new today. If you also learned something new, please subscribe and stuff. Maybe donate to Kobold's Patreon so I can steal it. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.